Chapter 1.2. A difference between both. The creaking of a door echoed throughout the house and someone stepped inside. Sighing as the fresh air hit their whole body, the guy looked unusually alike to the one that was eating while watching the TV, except for the fact that he was from a different universe. His hair was somewhat long from him not keeping it cut to its usual style. The blonde guy looked very identical to the setter in Nakoma at this point, and not to mention the dark eye bags hidden with makeup. Atsumu pushed the door inward forcefully. The sound of a click let him know that it closed completely. His stoic expression didn't change as he walked up the stairs to his room. Earlier in the day, Atsumu thought that he would buy some chips and snacks in case Osamu didn't have leftovers. When he saw that he had enough money for at least a few snacks, Atsumu took that opportunity to get them since it was the weekend. His twin was out with Suna. It's been a thing ever since they started dating. Thus this made their brotherly relationship more unstable than it already did. It was almost the last straw. The blonde-haired twin was indeed troubled about this change since it happened gradually but surely before his eyes. At this point, there was nothing he could do, unless he stepped up once again. Something Atsumu tried to do before and was just pushed aside, saying he was being dramatic or blowing things out of proportion. It's just teasing, a joke, his teammates treating his words like it was nothing of value. Thinking back at that time made Atsumu's anxiety rise, so when he felt it coming he locked the door and sat on the floor next to his bed, not wanting the dirt from outside to get caught in bedsheets or anywhere else. Atsumu tore the top of the bag of chips and stared down at it a bit. It's been some time since he had this unhealthy lifestyle, and in a way, the boy wondered if he should change that but was honestly too tired to even try. With one hand gripping the bag in place and the other reaching to grab a chip, this cycle continued for a while. Eventually, his appetite for food eased, and his nerves subsided. For now, Atsumu crumbled the plastic bag into a ball and tossed it inside the bucket that also had a bag inside to hold the trash. With no expression, he took out his phone, seeing a lot of notifications of the main group chat, some from the setter's group chat, and others that he couldn't see from his lock screen. When opening his phone to see the remaining notifications, a loud creaking sound of the door opening took him out of his gaze and made Atsu slightly afraid but gulped it down. Quickly as well as quietly got up from the floor, hands trembling a bit, and tried to keep it from showing before walking towards the door to his bedroom, unlocking it, and walking out, leaving it slightly open since he will go inside again. Atsumu peeked out downstairs to see Osamu and Suna walking in. The sound of talking from Rin sorta caught his interest. His brother paid attention, amused by the whole blackmail Suna collected from the group chat, while also closing the main door with one hand, making the familiar creaking noise Atsu heard. So that's basically it. Honestly, who would even think to do it in the back of the school? That's just a fucking stupid decision, Suna said, rolling his eyes in annoyance. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but like at least have some brain cells to think, oh shit, there's cameras or something. The couple let out a laugh at the stupidity of someone's decisions and headed upstairs to Osamu's room. Atsumu saw this, quickly looked for where to go, and spotted the door for the bathroom. He speed walked to it, opened the door with a bit of force, then closed it fast, but at the last moment slowly closed it. A small click was heard by Atsumu only, making him sigh in relief, and he placed his ear on the door, hearing the footsteps pass by, somewhat disappearing into Osamu's bedroom. The fake blonde soon realized it was dark in the bathroom. His eyes went slightly wide out of fear and quickly began to trace all around the wall, trying to find the small switch to turn on the light bulb. He eventually found it a few centimeters next to the door. With a deadpan look, Atsumu flicked the switch, making the light bulb light up the whole bathroom. I probably looked like a dumbass trying to look for the stupid light switch. With no warning at all, the boy slapped his forehead a bit too hard but ignored the pain, continuing the thought he had. Great, now I'm talking to myself again. Another sigh escaped Atsumu's mouth. Slowly he placed his hand down to his side. With a phone still in hand, the boy shook his head, trying to get rid of the unnecessary. Wow, I really am exhausted. Atsumu looked himself in the mirror and stared at his messed up makeup. It looked a bit caked and sloppy with the bit of sweat on his face. As he focused a lot more, the makeup began to itch at his skin and eyes. As a result, all the heat from outside caused him to feel dirty. And I should wash my face, it looks so disgusting. With that thought in mind, he unconsciously frowned in annoyance and locked the door swiftly before turning on the faucet. Water instantly began to come out and stream down the overflow hole. Atsumu placed his phone to the side of the sink, then pushed down on the dishwash boxed plastic-shaped bottle. The substance slowly fell on his left hand. When he had a decent amount of dishwash soap, the latter used both hands to rub his hands thoroughly, making him feel a bit less dirty, and as both hands started to make a squeaky sort of noise, Atsumu proceeded to grab the toilet paper carefully. Rolling it a few times around his right hand, the cluttering sound echoed around the bathroom. Abruptly he cut the paper with a swift motion, making it rip almost perfectly. With that toilet paper, he dried both hands a bit, but some small pieces of paper stuck to his skin, and as he saw this, Atsumu clicks his tongue annoyed. Stupid good-for-nothing paper. Once taking it all off his hands into the small trash bin next to the toilet, he began to feel sick to his stomach and a headache to top it all off. Atsumu's eyes narrowed into frustration as well as pain. This had happened many times after his eating lifestyle changed. It annoyed him to the point of wanting to punch something just to turn his attention to another sort of pain instead. Well, at least I'm in the restroom this time. A bitter lazy sort of smile made its way across his face, but a growling sound interrupted the thoughts he was having at that moment, with one hand holding onto the countertop keeping him in balance and the other hand gripping the shirt. Atsumu let his grip loose and then proceeded to punch himself in the gut. Though more pain did follow soon, it eventually subsided into slight cramps. It would be a weird solution to any normal person, but it really did strangely help Atsumu. The fake blonde felt himself grow dizzy every passing second, deciding he probably ate something bad this week or that he was sleep deprived. In the background, water from the faucet made him remember what he was about to do, and true to his thoughts, Atsumu placed both hands under the water that was running down the sink. Sometime later, all the makeup from before was off his skin. Now his sunken eyes were very much visible. They felt swollen from all those nights he couldn't sleep, just staring up at the ceiling, head empty as well as crying for numerous reasons. With the view he saw in the mirror, Atsumu's eyes looked harsh, void of no emotions. He glanced down at the toilet paper roll, and not too long after, Atsumu began to roll the paper a few times around his right hand. The cluttering sound echoed around the bathroom, repeating the same movement from before. With that toilet paper, he dried both hands a bit, but once again some small pieces of paper stuck to his skin. Atsumu sighed, giving up on being upset over something so small. Once getting all the small pieces, he threw the paper into the trash, and out of instinct Atsumu skimmed through his hair slightly, the tips being a bit too stiff, and he frowned upon realizing the state of his hair. That's strange. I've been using the same shampoo as always, or have I? The boy furrowed his eyebrows, trying to regain any memories of the past days and/or weeks. Oh, who am I kidding? I can't even remember what I did this morning. Did I even eat anything? He leaned down on the porcelain basin around the faucet bowl, stretching his body in the process, both arms crossed to keep himself somewhat balanced and not slip. A soft groan of satisfaction from a few lingering strained muscles and joints popping. The pain served as a relaxation technique for the uncomfortable stiffness. Now that I think about it. He stopped stretching and opened his eyes slowly, staring at the bathtub with tired eyes. His eyesight wasn't exactly the best at the moment, which troubled him. He just wasn't used to feeling this useless. While in a game, Atsumu's eyes were just as important as his arms, being able to have clear observations of the openings and blocks from victory. A shower would sound nice about now. Atsumu got up from his position, feeling the pops of his joints in the process once again. He opened the door carefully to not make any noise and get an earful of Osamu's nagging for him being so loud. After glancing down at Osamu's bedroom door, he listened to the sounds of a TV on his background noise. To Atsumu, he understood this. It became part of life living with his brother from here on out. With a slightly disgusted and peeved expression, the fake blonde got out of the bathroom and closed the door behind himself, leaving the lights on. Taking a breath in and out, he passed by the door. Not too long before he heard them, both Osamu and Suna, more than just simply making out. Fuck, why do this every damn time? Atsumu's cheeks were flushed as he speed walked inside his room, still being able to hear them through the thin walls. The very thought of hearing himself saying such words to Suna of all people made him uncomfortable and maybe just vomit right onto the floor. For goodness sake, both Osamu and himself were twin brothers. Don't think about it, ignore it, don't pay attention to it. As his thoughts began to try to preoccupy himself from the noises coming through his brother's room, Atsumu didn't take notice that he had left his phone on the counter inside the bathroom. The notifications of his best friend's messages and calls went mute, unread, unheard, and unanswered. 7 minutes passed by fairly quickly, as Atsumu mentally began to go through the list of things to have while in the shower, and once he was finished: shirt, underwear, shorts, towel, shampoo for my dyed hair. A sudden thought cut through his rant over the items already in line, on the bed sheets. Shit. My skincare products. With quick movements, Atsumu sprinted over to the drawers, pulled one out, and immediately saw the skin beauty products needed for the boy's routine every time he has taken a shower since dating his boyfriend. Okay, small blue one for cleaning, the white one after it's dried. When grabbing hold of the ones needed, he threw them next to his clean clothes that were already very well organized on top of each other. Next is. Letting out a sigh of exhaustion, the boy proceeded, regardless of his own physical and emotional condition at the moment. Clean in the bathroom. With a lazy posture, Atsumu whined softly, dragging himself outside his bedroom door to the bathroom. He pushed the entrance open and slightly kicked the wooden door, making a crevice between the door frame. The sound of the water pouring down on the tub echoes throughout the bathroom. Atsumu's eyesight still hazy walked up to the sink to wash his hands from touching the handle, and as silently as he could rolled the toilet paper around and tried to dry both hands. The boy glanced down at his phone that was placed on the counter, with an eager temptation to check, though deep inside, he knew no one would ever care to text him, except for a few people, but often they were busy with their own lives. A sigh escaped his lips as his eyes narrowed with disappointment, and grabbed it. The phone screen lit up, lock screen showing a few notifications. With his thumb, he slid down the bar to show the remaining notifications that couldn't be shown. Among them, certain notifications caught his eye the most, which were from his best friend, none other than the Oikawa Toru. Sumu unlocked the phone, going to his message app to see what had happened to his friend. From the number of messages and calls he received, only the worst possible scenarios came to mind. Kawa. Reading through the messages, Atsumu immediately abandoned the idea to take a shower. It was much more important to see Oikawa. He and Toru had always been close, ever since they decided to take part in pranks, challenges, and dares. Both boys clicked instantly because of their chaotic and fun-loving attitude, linking them together. Of course, it wasn't long before the two boys came out to each other about their insecurities and doubts. This made the friendship between them much stronger. They understood each other on a deeper level than before. Sure, sometimes they don't want to be a bother to one another, but both know in the back of their minds that they have trust. It counts for something. With no time to waste, Sumu turned off the shower head. Phone still in hand, he texted back his friend, worried for his well-being. Atsumu already assumed that Oikawa was crying, which was always not a good sign. Toru never cried without a reason, or unless he couldn't take the stress or pain anymore. Even then, the boy would never let anyone know. Atsumu, on the other hand, was an exception. When walking out of the bathroom, he abruptly flipped down the switch, making the room go dark once again. Atsumu threw his phone on the bed as soon as he was inside the bedroom, quickly going to grab a leather duffel bag that he bought some time ago for times like these. As he zipped the bag open, simultaneously grabbing the clothes and skin products from the bed, trying to arrange them in a way it benefited him, slight sweat from anxiousness began to appear on his forehead. Once everything was inside the bag, he walked over to his closet and opened it with little to no care that he would get yelled at for being too loud in his twins' ears. Sumu looked through the clothes and found a few that he thought were okay enough to wear much later. Could it be his knee? Did he overwork himself again? All the scenarios came barging in through his mind. The more he thought about it, the more it began to make sense, and that irritated him. Idiot. He knows the risks that come along with his decisions. Feelings were always a struggle to contain at times, like in his younger years, when he didn't have the so-called arrogant attitude. Words did get to him badly. Now, however, was very much different. As the older he got, the more he isolated his own emotions, and it became easier to control in front of others, because of the people he surrounded himself to begin with. How ironic. Thinking through his own emotions, Atsumu realizes he was being irrational and a bit of a hypocrite. With a sigh, the boy softens his expression, but it soon turned into a slightly apprehensive one. Okay, everything's all done. When straightening up from leaning down on the bed, he stumbled back from the sudden dizziness hitting him with such force in one moment. Atsumu shook his head from side to side, closing both eyes tightly before opening them again. Shit, that hurt like a bitch. In the bed were 4 pairs of clothes perfectly separated, and with a simple understanding of how to place them inside the duffel bag without falling, he began to do so. Only after taking all the things Atsumu needed did he zip up the bag and grabbed his phone off the bed, which was still turned on. At the top of his notifications were at least 4 missed calls from Oikawa. A little pain of guilt stung at his chest for a moment, but placed it aside. He tapped on the notification, bringing him to his contacts. It was only a few, which wasn't surprising in the slightest. Atsumu never was a people pleaser. He did things his way. If people around him didn't like it, of course, he let himself to not give a shit, well before anyway. Almost immediately Oikawa picked up. No sound except for uneven breathing, that is until he spoke up, trying to get a hold of his emotions it seemed. Hey. Sumu. Kawa. Moments like these were always a struggle. Atsumu wasn't a person to come to for comfort. Both Oikawa and himself knew some of the many things they very much had in common. Want me to bring you milk bread on the way there? Atsumu internally cursed himself for being awkward. As much as he didn't want to be the one in this type of situation, the genuine care he felt for Toru is enviable. In response to the question, Oikawa cleared his throat the best he could and let out a raspy soft laugh. Whoa, won't it get cold, idiot? Fine, I'll make some inya. House problem solved, smart ass. Atsumu grinned, trying to lift the mood, or at least get whatever is on his best friend's mind to be forgotten for a while. Maybe we could invite Tendo. The fake blonde grabbed the heavy duffel bag almost with ease, placing it on his right shoulder, the straps crossing to the left side. No. Ushijima. Atsumu left his room in a better mood than when he came inside the house. Simply the thought of hanging out with someone who he was close with, and not being belittled for even making a decision, action let alone talking, just made him feel alive. Never mind, I'll take Tendo. He lifted his hand to his lips, stopping himself from laughing at the conversation he and Oikawa were having. As Atsumu came down the hallway, he forgot to quiet down his footsteps because of his shoes. Of course. Stop walking around so damn loud, dumbass. The tone of voice Osamu used made him flinch, freezing in place, deciding if he should either yell back or just leave. TCH like your one talk, fucking sooner every time y'all come over. Atsumu kept muttering under his breath, eyebrows furrowed, not having the patience to be in a fight again with Osamu. It weighed heavily on his chest, all the fighting and screaming, the words exchanged every time trying to stand up for himself, that in the end always ended up with Atsumu crying alone. One hand in a fist trembling slightly, he clutched his mouth shut in anger as well as sadness perhaps, and kept walking down the stairs, quieter this time. Again. Blue. Oikawa's raspy voice cut Atsumu out of his negative thoughts, and back to the present. I know, right. Blue. Trying to get back into the lighthearted mood, he copied Toru's disgusted noise and chuckled along with his friend.